Remember all that stuff about how Trump's beating Biden and the polls show that Democrats are going to lose and Republicans and especially Donald Trump are getting more popular by the second. And then what does this say? An epic failure. Republicans take huge election losses. What wasn't there a whole thing about how the polls were pointing to the fact that the Democrats are in trouble and that their messaging is not resonating, I think it was, with voters? Well, let's see. Maybe there's more to this. I mean, epic failure can mean so many things.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the post-game show. After a big election night, coast to coast, we've got some results.
It's so bad, we're actually putting a desk in front of her short skirt. They still got the flowers, though, for the Georgia O'Keeffe. We know there's vagina there somewhere. Desk set up so that at least she doesn't have to sit trying to cross her legs in front of a lap height camera. Fucking hell, it bugs me.
Yeah, you were in Virginia yesterday interviewing Governor Youngkin.
And that didn't go well.
Things did not go as he had hoped.
No. Right. Especially because if you're talking to Steve, it's not going well.
Indeed. And so
indeed.
What we're going to do?
Look at Kilmeade. Look at Kilmeade. Just hold on a second. Wait. Back up. Look at his frumpy fucking face this whole segment. They're kind of like, well, it's just for the post-game show. It's a lot of stuff. There's a lot going on, and that didn't go well and everything. And he's like, motherfucker.
Some results.
Yeah, you were in Virginia yesterday interviewing Governor Youngkin, and things did not go as he had hoped.
No, indeed. And so what we're going to do, sit back, pour yourself a cup of coffee, and we're going.
Look at fucking, God damn it. That's so fucking hilarious. Look how fucking miserable this dickhead is. Yeah, 62% of non-voters want Trump. Yeah, he's huge with the people who aren't going to vote. And the people who vote twice.
Explain it all. Let's start over at the big board and Lawrence Jones. Let's start in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Okay, good morning, family. It was a big upset for the governor there. Not only did he lose the House, but they were not.
Kilmeade's blathering. What did Kilmeade say? Listen to the background.
There. Not only did he lose the House, but they were not able.
I can't make out what he's saying, but he's bitching on a hot mic.
Able to flip the Senate. Let's look at the map right here.
Let's look at it.
Democrats have 51.
Democrats win majority. Now, I can't understand why Kilmeade isn't happy. Yeah.
To the Republicans, 47. And when you go over to the House, can we switch?
That is the House.
And then you got 21 Democrats.
That's the Senate. You were on the House. Yeah.
Democrats there in the Senate, and then 17 Republicans in the
Senate
there. The big upset was one thing particular when it comes to
what was it? Could it possibly be abortion?
Abortion. Republicans just weren't able to rally. Also, when
they weren't able to rally? Yeah, no. Hold on. Fuck that. They absolutely were able to rally. Democrats. The Republicans are in charge of right now the greatest Democratic voter get out the vote plan in decades.
You look at the issues such as crime and everything, they weren't able to run on that.
Yeah, they weren't able to run on that, were they? Because people were too busy wondering if women would have equal rights.
When you look at also, the Democrats outspent the Republicans there. And when it comes to early voting, the Democrats really pounded the pavement there.
It's weird. It's almost like wanting people to vote whenever they can so that their vote is counted is meaningful. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is spending every fucking possible second he can telling people to only vote on election day, and it probably won't count anyways.
Here I am like an idiot.
Jesus Christ.
Guys.
They did indeed, Lawrence.
Yeah, a lot at stake. In Virginia, that was really a loss for the governor. And he traveled all over that state to all the different
Maybe he shouldn't have.
districts. They spent a ton of money trying to
Yep, and none of it worked. It might be. Oh shit! I didn't even realize there's like, how pervy is this? They still have like the open desk, but it's just like soft glass, so they can get the Fox and Friends pervs going. If you squint, you can kind of
get the Republicans to win in both of those. Both of those.
You mean the Senate and the House? Both of those what?
Establishments, but the
Establishments. Okay, sure. That's a sneeze card.
no
Yikes.
abortion ban. I mean, I think that's what the voters said. What did he want, Brian? He wanted 18 weeks. Is that right?
15.
The governor?
16, I think 15 weeks.
Yeah, 16, 15. It doesn't matter. I don't know. Whatever. He was like, it's hard for Kilmeade to remember because he thinks most abortion bans are based on the age of people that Matt Gaetz likes to fly out of Florida.
He also said, flip the House, keep the Senate, but he lost both.
He said that?
What an epic failure by Governor Youngkin. This is a huge loss.
Huge.
For him, who everyone looked at, if not 24, which I thought was a long shot, definitely 28.
But that's a tough state to win in, though, because
because it's got all those women in it and Democratic men who actually give a shit about women. Hi, how are you?
have equal amount of Republicans.
Oh, the clip audio is really loud. Sorry. Hold on one second. Beg your pardon.
Republicans and Democrats. And when we went there, when Governor Youngkin was running, I remember people were really angry. They did not want him to win on the Democratic side. We were standing outside of a grocery store asking people as they came out, either they loved him or they were completely against him.
Well, Virginia, for the most part, has been a
Making him the perfect Republican.
bluish state, and it just got a lot bluer. And the number one most motivating factor was the issue of abortion in the Commonwealth of Virginia, because
And that's not going to change between now and 2024.
while Glenn Youngkin was trying to come up with a moderate approach, let's say 15 weeks, and then it would be a ban. And
Yeah, that's the moderate approach. 15 weeks and then a ban. Fuck them if it starts to kill the woman, if it's a stillborn, if the fetus is not viable at 18 or 20 weeks, she's got to carry the fucking thing to term and die on the fucking operating table. That's, a moderating. The fuck?
we should point out that wasn't on the agenda. That wasn't actually on the ballot. But, if you elect all these Republicans, I can get this done. It seemed like a moderate
Then it was on the ballot, dum-dum. That's exactly what it
thing.
is.
But unfortunately for him, the people very loudly said, you know what, that is
Fuck you.
interested in that, Lawrence.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the ground game worked. Doesn't look like the early voting initiative that they said they were doing their work.
That they said they were doing their work. Yeah, that's because Donald Trump has told them not to trust the vote and then only vote on one day. So if something comes up and you can't make it, it fucks your there is a statistically significant number of people who, no matter what, if they only had one day to vote on across the political spectrum, if it was like single day, that's it. There's a statistically significant number of people who will have something happen. And depending on the size of the state, it could sway one direction or another. If there was like a coal mine disaster or like the chemical plant that blew up in Texas or some shit like that around election day, there would be if people worked there were Republicans and the county was kind of leaning purple or whatever, it could throw the whole fucking district blue simply because those people were busy fucking cleaning up some sort of natural disaster or something fucked up happened, or a tornado rips through some place, or military people are sent off to battle and don't bother to send in their ballots because they're actually in a war zone and shit like that. That could statistically, shift an election. That's why one day is fucking dumb as a single point. And the more the Republicans push this, the more they limit their own voters. And by the way, Trump and his ilk are convinced this is the way to go. Only vote on election day. Don't vote before. They're going to steal your vote anyways. And then, as you get closer to it, how are you going to convince these motherfuckers that their vote on the day will count?
And it was a big upset there. Let's go to Ohio.
Right. That's how this shit happens.
Because that was also a big thing right there. When you look at
It was a big thing right
the
there.
Republican, this is what was posted on there, provided the state the Constitution right to make and carry out one's productive decision. Let's take a look at what it said.
What?
So 56%, 0.3% said yes.
Right to make and carry out one's own reproductive decisions, including abortions. 56% said yes.
43.7% said no.
It said no. Women should not have the right to make and carry out their own reproductive decisions, including abortion. By the way, also including contraception, you fucking tools.
So that was a big one as well. It looks like abortion was the big issue.
Well, no. In this particular case, I would like to say that just because it includes abortion, don't forget the fact that this is like condoms, the pill, IUDs, Jesus Christ, the rhythm method. I don't know what the fuck. What's the alternative here? Legislating, it is sinful to spill your seed on the sand?
Issue for the folks out there. Also,
the folks.
When you look at the Midwest, Republicans just aren't doing a good job of getting people to turn out. And it looks like,
gee, it's almost like the leader of your party is telling people not to trust fucking elections.
They focus on this economic message, but the voters just.
But yeah, the voters are like spending a lot of money and going to football games and buying Taylor Swift tickets and re-upping their fucking Netflix subscriptions, and they're not listening to you.
Just aren't buying it, guys.
No sense.
Right. You know what they are buying? A lot of stuff. They're still buying a lot of stuff.
No Senate seat up, no governor's seat up. This big issue was up, and here we are 2 years after the Dobbs decision, and the Republicans have no idea how to message it. And
you can't message it. You cannot message it, especially the Republican Party, because you are, in theory, the Republicans are the party of personal freedom and personal responsibility and personal whatever, and anti-big government. And then at the same time, these motherfuckers want to set a government policy that tells a woman and her doctor what to do with her body at a series of spots along the line, which involves the possibility of her being raped by a relative, carrying a non-viable fetus to term that may destroy her ability to have children in the fucking future. And these motherfuckers, these small government conservatives, want to set a goddamn policy so that they can step between you and your doctor in that decision. You can't message it because it is antithetical to the entire message that Republicans have been selling as a raison d'etre for fucking ever.
2 years after the Dobbs decision, they're still getting outraised by Democrats in every.
Yes, obviously in a country where there is no money and everyone's going to hell, and we're in hell tubes of hell and hell tubes and whatever the fuck, and yet people still have money left over to go, fuck this. I will help you raise money. Here's my $5. Here's my $10. Here's my $25, because I'm not going to let women's rights be a matter of like a juggling policy for the Republican Party.
Every major election and every major issue.
How do Republicans figure this out? Because
they're not going to. They can't. Because here's how figuring it out works. You've lost. That ship sailed with Roe v. Wade. You picked the fucking scab, and now it's bleeding. It ain't going to heal if you keep picking it. That's where this is. There is no there. There's no way out of this. You're not going to convince the majority of women in the United States, or even the majority of men in the United States, that the federal government or the state governments should limit someone's ability to have a therapeutic abortion to save their own fucking life or make their own reproductive decisions within a reasonable window. So it's just, you're not going to do it. And you're not going to stop. So that's why you're fucked.
we heard Nikki Haley on the stage. She said, I'm not for abortion. My husband was
What does that mean?
adopted. I had a tough time getting pregnant. However, the chances of us changing this are null and void. It's not going to happen. Let's be realistic about it. And then she said, and let's don't vilify women if they've made that decision or die.
Yeah. And you know what that makes her? A single-digit performer in the Republican field.
Doctors who have made that decision or don't want to perform them.
Sure. What are you talking about? This is the network where fucking Bill O'Reilly said Tiller the baby killer on the air.
Ultimately, it comes down to the question of abortion. And
he might have said that on his radio show also, or at the same time, or primarily. Anyways, he worked at Fox when he said it.
Americans, as we have seen, once again, the predominant issue across the board was abortion. people don't want restrictions on it. And even though Glenn Youngkin in the Commonwealth of Virginia tried to come up with a common sense approach, a moderate approach,
a moderate approach, which is 15 weeks. And if you haven't made that decision, whether the fucking thing's going to kill you or not, or whether it's viable, or whether its fucking lungs are outside its body and it's sealed to your uterus and the process of pushing it will tear your insides out, fuck it. That's what God wants. Gee, I can't imagine why women don't support that idea and the men that love them don't either. It's strange. It's hard to wrap your head around it.
Really. Did not work. And in Ohio, they were simply trying to approve a measure to build in protections, and people didn't want that. And that
build in protections, motherfucker. People want not only the ability to have an abortion if necessary, but also contraception. These motherfuckers are going after contraception. Anybody who talks about this, who's one of the point people on the Republican side about abortion, contraception's next. Period. That's what this is. It's as much about that as it is abortion. Abortion's the kind of lead point on it because it's the worst case scenario. It's the emergency moment. But along with the morning after pill and RU486 and those kind of things, they're after that shit too because they believe in the conception model. So if you do the morning after pill, they consider that equally sinful to a fucking 9th term plus 1 day abortion or whatever. So they want to get rid of that too. And that's a huge part of this.
That number you just showed, Lawrence, is about the same margin that recreational weed passed in Ohio.
Yeah, so Ainsley, also when you look at the CNN polling, it says 68% said that the abortion issue was extremely or very important, and only 32% said that it was moderate or not important.
That's putting moderately important in there with not important is a fucking dodge because here's the thing. If you put extremely, very, or moderately, meaning it affected their vote choice as far as 2024, that's 80% minimum. I mean, I don't even know what the not very part of this is. This is a CNN poll. You're going to slap moderately and not very together? Moderately is enough to switch your fucking vote in a bunch of areas. 68 to extremely or very, 68%, that's fucking gigantic.
Nearly 7 in 10 Republicans have to figure out what their messaging is.
There's no message. It's not the message. It's the policy. The policy is wrong. It's not based on this moderating idea that Steve Ducey is pushing. It's based on women got us in this problem in the first place because they ate the goddamn apple and they made us try it. That's what this is about.
Brian was saying, in order to go forward in the next election. We looked at this midterm election as a way to gauge how Republicans or how Democrats react going
And what did you learn?
Forward for 2024. So Republicans need to look at all of these numbers and really
and change their policy.
Think about what's more important. Right. Yes, most people that are Republicans are probably pro-life.
Right.
No, they're not. No, they're not. They're pro-fetus, but as soon as that baby is fucking born, it's on its own. No Head Start, no school lunch, no public schools. They're trying to undermine. They want to get rid of the Department of Education because they want their kids to have a jump start on it if they can afford, schools based on property taxes. They know that their school will be better than the one next door, so their kid will have a leg up on the other kids just because they get shitty facilities and all that kind of stuff. That's why they want to get rid of it. I don't give a fuck about life. Life is something life's a long fucking time if you're lucky. Life is all of the shit that happens while you're alive. I don't give a fuck about any of that stuff.
And
half of them just want these kids to be born, the poor kids to be born, so that they can have cannon fodder.
We love our babies, and I love being a mother.
Why did God put nipples on men? For aesthetic purposes, to make us, recognize that we're more equal than not.
But what?
And also, I'm not one of them, but some people they're very sensitive and they're useful in the sex act. So they maintain a lot of nerve endings and stuff, and there's a lot of homogeny. He also put nipples on male cats or whatever too. So I don't know what to tell you. It confuses everyone.
That's most important. Republicans taking over and Republicans being able to keep our country.
Well, the other
or recognizing that it ain't your country, it's all Americans' country, and you are out of step with the vast majority of your fellow citizens.
The thing that's important is they didn't message crime. They didn't message the border.
What are you fucking talking about? That's all they talk about, asshole. As a matter of fact, they talk about the border and crime so much so that they can sneak this abortion shit in under the wire. They're trying to scare you about the border and scare you about crime. So you're like, fuck, I gotta vote for these motherfuckers. And then what they're trying to sneak by is abortion and contraception bans. Get the fuck out of here. They didn't message crime. Are you shitting me? What the fuck? Like every clip we talk about, holy hell.
Have not touched the inner city. So whatever.
They haven't touched the inner city in Virginia.
People are, however.
In Ohio. Yes, the inner city world of Toledo.
However the mayors are failing, however the issues are falling short, whether it's the bail reform or whether it's the lack of.
Jesus Christ. It couldn't be possibly like dead talking points that don't factor in anymore.
Police officers on the street, nothing was emphasized or mattered.
That's all they fucking talk about.
As much as that, or people are just staying home. Yeah. I mean, the Republicans have a lot to work with. They're just not.
Yes. They're just not interested in working with it because part of what they have to work with is women having the right to bodily autonomy and making decent decisions. And this idea that is pervasive in the Republican Party, and this is what Nikki Haley was apparently pushing back on, is that given the opportunity, women will abort babies in the 9th month because they're hysterical psychopaths who just go, I want it out of me, kill it. Like, that's how they think women operate. And the reality is that most women who have a therapeutic abortion or have an abortion after, 20 weeks or so, have it because they've already picked out fucking curtains. They've already started changing the babies, in one of the rooms in the house to the baby's room. They bought a crib. They're looking through baby name books and shit like that. And then they're told by their doctor the baby's not going to make it, and that they might not make it. And they have to make a horrible decision. It's fucking heartbreaking. And yet Republicans believe that this is just women going, fuck it. I don't know that.
Not working with it.
Well, but ultimately it comes down to the Democrats have a really potent issue, and that is abortion, because, ever since Roe v.
Because 68% of voters in that CNN poll say it's very important or extremely important. And even on the other side, moderately important, which is enough to shift your vote.
Wade was overturned. Pretty much every time the Democrats have run on abortion, they have won. And here's the bad, and was last night a harbinger for 2024, as you were alluding to, Ainsley?
Yes.
Absolutely. You know why? Because there are opponents and proponents trying to put abortion rights on the ballots in the states of Florida, Nevada, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. So it's going to be, if...
Yes, 3 swing states and Florida-ish. And I got news for you. Even Florida will drift this way. There aren't enough Catholic Cubans down there to throw a monkey wrench in this system. Sorry.
You're a Republican running in those states. You're going to have a tough 2024.
So one of the states...
Don't threaten me with a good time.
That Republicans would push back on is the state of Mississippi. They ran on abortion. That was the one issue. And Governor Tate Reeves was able to get 51.8% of the vote. Why is this important? 40% of the black individuals that live in that state is 40% of the state. This is the largest state for black voters there. And they really thought they were going to get black voters to show up for the Democratic Party. Yeah. As you know, Mississippi has a water issue, a crime issue, an economic issue.
Yes, it's a shit state.
And black voters did not show up.
And that's the hospital issue, too. A lot of the hospitals had to shut down in the rural areas.
They didn't show
That's
up for
Elvis Presley's cousin. I thought maybe that would help him. Maybe it did a little bit.
He's all shook up.
Yeah.
Mississippi's Getting better is education.
Yeah.
Imagine this. A Republican won the Mississippi governor's race with 51%. Imagine that being your good news. 51%. That's far from being a mandate. And that's with 95%. Yeah. Slightly greater than 95% of the vote counted at that point. Mississippi governor's race, the Republican won with 51.9%, almost 52%. In Mississippi, are you fucking kidding me?
They're starting to turn it around on education, and maybe that has something to do with it. Extremely Republican state, so that was supposed to be close.
Yeah, it's an extremely Republican state. It's supposed to be close. It is close, dumb fuck.
Closer than it actually was.
But that is a state where abortion was not an issue because they were both anti-abortion.
That's exactly right.
Wherever abortion was on the agenda.
And again, Nevada, Arizona, Pennsylvania, they're going to be, Ron Johnson and his ilk are trying to put something forward in Wisconsin.
The Democrats won,
Brandon
except
Presley.
in Mississippi.
And the reason was, and they'll appreciate this in Mississippi, we know being from the South, the reason he was pro-life, Presley, as a Democrat, was because of he loves the Lord, and he felt
That's right. He does love the Lord.
like
The Lord. He said the Lord.
that was important to him.
So they fucking flipped a coin.
With Donald Trump, and when you talk about messaging, Trump said, and he got a lot of ridicule for it, we're going to work something out on a compromise because this is not a good issue for us. And Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley.
Yeah, that's because Donald Trump has paid for multiple abortions in his life and doesn't actually give a fuck.
And everyone jumped all over him. And Tim Scott.
What do you think about the ballot Democrat shortage in Mississippi election yesterday? They're always going to try to push this down, but quite frankly, I'm not worried about that. That ship has sailed. Even if people think there was somebody monkeying around in the election, still Tate Reeves only wins with like a 30,000 vote difference in a off year state election.
And in the end, Donald Trump's instincts on the issue, regardless of his personal feelings, are 100% right. He goes, this is not a good political issue for us.
Yeah, he has said that they've got some terrible state-level restrictions, and he's also said that state politicians have spoken inarticulately about abortion. But ultimately, I think this particular issue, I think, is what might put a smile on Joe Biden's face. After the terrible polls he's had in the last week, I think he thinks, and his people around him are saying, if abortion is going to be a big thing,
it will be.
You would be able to.
And it's not even because Democrats make it one, but because Republicans insist
To win on that alone. And Brian, to your point about Donald Trump.
They ran out of ballots? Shocking.
Oh, he has been vague on specifics regarding abortion. But what Democrats will do next year is they will say, well, Donald Trump doesn't have a specific abortion policy, but he's the guy who put 3 justices on the Supreme Court.
Thanks, Steve. Well articulated.
Who overturned Roe v. Wade.
He says he's going to work out a compromise.
So to you guys.
He says he's going to work out a compromise on day one.
That's the point about
He's also going to deploy the military on the streets of the United States. Get the
Donald
fuck out
Trump.
of here.
I think it's important to know as we move to Kentucky, Donald Trump got 62% of the vote in the last election against Joe Biden. And Andy Beshear held on to the state. People say that he's a moderate, he's trustworthy, they like him. But as you know, Daniel Cameron was a rising star in the Republican Party. They expected him to win this. When I was talking to folks on the ground there, they said it was highly unlikely because people like the governor there. But the one thing you saw in this election is the black voters came out, but also the activists came out. And they really went after Daniel Cameron with the Breonna Taylor thing. Yeah. So they went door to door, and they just did not show up for the guy.
And he's the AG. They didn't like some of the laws that were in place under him. But Beshear, you and I were talking about this yesterday. His father was governor, is that right?
Yeah.
And he's
Republican.
and he's beloved. His father was a Republican, but he's so moderate. The Republicans also like him there.
I like to add one more thing. Ronna McDaniel told me on Monday that
Jesus Christ. Kilmeade is so trying to just sit there and turd polish
Cameron was getting killed on certain abortion ads, and he never responded. They thought we're just going to run out the clock. We were on the polls, and that was it. Again, back to it. And it seems in every major race, Republicans were outraged.
Isn't that what they criticized like Hillary Clinton for doing with like Wisconsin and the like? You'd think lessons learned.
2 and sometimes 3 to 1. So they got a year to change that.
And also in the
They're not going to change anything. The policy is just going to get more stark.
of Kentucky, Bashir won after hammering Cameron for supporting the state's near total ban on abortion.
So,
Right. Which is not going to change. There is no way Cameron or anybody around him walks that shit back. And by the way, for the record, Mitch McConnell doesn't support it. He supports some sort of like moderating view of it, which they call him a rhino and fucking hate his guts. And Jesus Christ, if anybody believes in elective abortion after birth, it's fucking Rand Paul and his libertarian Ayn Randian stuff. If you want, according to Ayn Rand, if you want to yank the kid out of you and bash his head on a rock, that's up to you. That's freedom.
Abortion across the board.
overall, it looks like the Republicans were outspent, they were outworked, and it seems.
Excuse me. The Democrats were able to fundraise and out-fundraise Republicans. They were outspent because they had more money. They got more money because these meaningful issues were worth people's time, attention, and money.
It's like there's still no real strategy as it relates to early voting. It looks like the Democrats have.
No, they have a strategy. You know what the Republican strategy for early voting is the same as Joe Biden's message to I guess the Hezbollah. Don't
Have an operation to get it done. And I know some Republicans have said they want to turn that around, but it looks like the anti-early voting message for states that allow it is just not helping their turnout.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it's weird. It is weird. It's weird. I never really. It's super weird. You'd think. That's weird. You know what? It's easy though. All you do is get Trump and all of his other people to say vote early, and try to not get them say vote early and vote often by accident, which Trump will do. As a matter of fact, if anybody says vote early and vote often to Trump within a day or so of him giving a rally, he'll say it on stage.
Bashir would not say anything about Joe Biden. They tried to pin Biden to Bashir. True. He ran from the president, didn't bring it up, say have nothing to do with the president or his policies.
We need to talk to Ronna
Yeah, he's running for a state office.
McDaniel and find out what the plan
Because a lot of times it'll look like, you don't want to look like a puppet anyway.
is for Republicans.
Republicans who run on like, I love Donald Trump, and Donald Trump, I'm basically just Donald Trump. He can stick his fucking finger up my ass and tell me what to do. That doesn't work out well for anybody.
When it comes to the abortion issue, how do you handle that?
He finds a lot of them uncoachable.
She does?
She finds a lot of the candidates a bit uncoachable, yeah.
Jeez, they're not going to, really? Republicans aren't open to being coached by Ronna McDaniels? No? Huh. She finds them uncoachable. I love the fucking idea that, like, Brian Kilmeade is fucking have these, like, 15-year-old gab fests sitting on the end of the bed holding a phone like, what are you talking about? I don't know. What are you talking about? What are you doing? I don't know. You hang up first. I don't know. These people are uncoachable. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that's an issue for Republicans. And then Democrats, we've seen they're facing in 2024 with everything happening in Israel, that party's divided. So division.
No, not really.
On both sides.
I think
No, not division on both sides. Nope.
big story is going to be, we heard about the red wave
That didn't happen.
last time.
Right.
Now we heard about the big wins that were going to be made in Virginia, that Daniel Cameron was going to win Kentucky. That was wrong. It looks like Republicans are fucked. the Republicans need a full autopsy of where this polling. It looks like there's some interest in the Republican Party, but when it comes to
There's some interest in the Republican Party. Yes, there is interest in making sure the Republican Party isn't in charge of anything.
getting the folks to the polls, they're failing on this.
See what had changes when we go 2024 with the president on the ballot.
Yeah.
Right, because the message will be a lot clearer then.
And if you.
By the way, Trump is going to have to come out with a moderating voice on this, and they're either going to have to just, like, pro-life voters are going to have two choices when it comes to Donald Trump. Either go, he's really lying because he really is going to ban it totally, but he's got to say this to get elected, or fuck this guy. That's the only options they're going to have, and it's going to be a split. half of pro-life voters are going to go, oh my God, you can't moderate this. What the fuck are you talking about? And the other half are going to go, he's a liar for us. He's a liar for Jesus.
Or if abortion is on the agenda, on the ballot,
it will be.
But in your state,
it will be.
The Democrats.
It's, by the way, it's not only going to be on the agenda in the states. It's going to be, watch for that interview with Chris Matthews that Trump did where there has to be a punishment for the woman who gets abortion. That's the ad. Democrats, throw that shit up there. Does that mean there should be a punishment for women? There has to be. That's what Donald Trump said. And everybody, back in 2016, and nobody fucking listened, and he set up that exact fucking thing. And we've got a rise in infant mortality around, the deaths of infants at birth because of the number of unviable fetuses that are being forced to be carried to term by these assholes.
That's as of last night, and in the past special elections, Democrats win.
Yep, and that's how it's going to continue to go because these motherfuckers cannot moderate this message without getting eaten alive. The fact that, look, Youngkin's loss of seats in the Senate and the House in Virginia had every bit as much to do with him trying to sound more moderate than he actually is, and a bunch of, like, super pro-life right-wing voters who are, like, in the Marjorie Taylor Greene mentality zone of voting, not voting for him or not voting for those people because of that very thing. What am I going to do? Give him more Republicans so that he can moderate them? Fuck this guy. They didn't even bother because it's all or nothing. This is the same impact that TYT had around the Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump race is happening on the Republican side. Now everybody's just realizing, stop fucking listening to TYT about voting. You can laugh all you want if they're bitching about some awful people and they're hitting stuff that's really obvious. But anytime they're trying to like criticize Democrats, the fuck out of here. The fuck out of here. They're not criticizing on policy. They're yelling warmonger and of course and all that shit, trying to stop people from voting. It's an anti-voting like machine over there at TYT. And that's, by the way, really ultimately minor, which is one of the reasons why Bernie Sanders' campaign had a glass ceiling on it nationwide, is because it only has a limited reach. Republicans are doing this on a national fucking level. Kilmeade is doing this kind of shit and bringing on Donald Trump, and they're interviewing him, and Hannity's having on Trump and having on Youngkin and supporting all these measures on national fucking television, the big stuff, on the big channels, the legacy and mainstream media levels of the right-wing, media sphere are pushing this shit. Like, if we don't get everything, nobody gets anything. They're pushing that on this level, and this is what's happening.
So far, 7 states are off the board.
Yep. Lawrence,
All right.
Yep. So far, 7 states are off the board. Wait till Trump gets kicked to the fucking curb on states where he's not going to be allowed to be on the ballot and automatically destroys any potential for him in terms of the Electoral College. Bye-bye.